Hey, what's up everybody? Andre with AndreReese.Biz. All right, guys. Man, I'm on a completely different bike today. And I'm driving by the bike shop right here that's got my bike. I dropped it off to get it serviced. But I'll talk to you guys about that in a second. So I'm back with you guys for another Cyclecast. And let's cover the topics that we're going to go over today. The main topic that we're going to discuss is sometimes you just got to give it 24 hours and you'll be surprised at what can happen in 24 hours. But I'm also going to talk about Jasmine Crockett. We'll talk about UNC and his exit from Destination Smokehouse. And I want to talk to you guys also too about event prices for going to shows and concerts and stuff like that. All right, so let's go ahead and get right into it. And like I said, I am on my backup bike today. So I'm rolling on a Trek. Oh, this is a Diamondback. This is a Diamondback hybrid. And so the one I normally ride on is Moto Beacon. I call her Moto Bay. And she's been faithful. And she's got 27.5 inch rims. And I think this one has 26 on it. But that one's kitted and fitted to work like a mountain bike. So this one here that I'm on right now is actually a hybrid bike. And so it definitely rolls a lot faster than my other one because the wheels are extremely smooth. They're kind of a combination between a road bike and probably a mountain bike, sort of. But you kind of get the picture. But it's got a very thin ridge that stays, that allows the bike to roll on a very, very thin surface. And the less surface, the less resistance, and then the faster you're gonna run. And so, like I said, I had to put my other bike in service. I don't know if you guys had noticed on the last video that I did, I was getting a lot of noise on the cranks. So I went ahead and drop the bike off and get it serviced. I dropped Marilyn's bike also off to get hers serviced as well. And so here, let me adjust this real quick here before we get going too much. Okay, cool, got that locked in. Hopefully I don't have to adjust it anymore. But yeah, I dropped my bike off. I dropped Marilyn's bike off to get serviced. And hopefully, the problem, I know the guy will be able to take care of it. Something going on with the cranks, so it's making a lot of noise. I don't know if I need an overhaul or if the bearings are going bad. Something's up. So, and I know the guy will be able to take care of me and get me squared away. So, but the crazy thing is it's going to take almost 2 weeks to get our bikes back. So I've got this extra bike that I had bought. So when me and Marilyn first started dating quite a long time ago, I guess we're coming up on 3 years pretty soon. So when we first started dating, let's see here. Yeah, when we first started dating about 3 years ago, here, hang on, my whole thing is tripping. Okay, we're back. So hopefully that will fix the problem. So when we started dating roughly about 3 years ago, when we were going through the courting stage and we were talking a lot, she knew I loved to ride bikes. She had a bike also as well. So I was like, hey, let me go ahead and buy a bike. And so I bought a bike and had it drop shipped out here. And so when I first came to visit her the first time when I stayed, I put the bike together and we were just riding bikes all over the place. So I've never gotten rid of that bike. I've got it as sentimental meaning behind it, so I never sold it. I still got the box where I could and all that. But I'm keeping it as a backup. And so if somebody comes from out of town and they come to visit or they want to hang out and they want to ride bikes or whatever like that, I've got an extra bike that somebody can jump on and ride with us if they want to. And the other thing that's cool is if something happens like this where my bike is down, I've got something else I can at least ride in the meantime. So this bike is definitely rolling a lot faster than my other bike is, for sure, with minimal effort. So like I said, I'm thankful to be out here on it right now. Let me make one more adjustment real quick. All right, so we are good to go. Here we go. All right, so like I said, this bike is rolling pretty fast, and I'm happy that I got it. And you know, let's make it happen. So you guys will see me on this one for the next couple weeks or so as I'm doing these cycle casts. So what other stuff is happening out here? Today the weather is beautiful, roughly about 80 degrees or so. 85 is what I think probably got up to. Probably down to about 80 right now. And anything else? I don't know if you guys have ever noticed it, but on my other bike, I have a drop post, and it's an incredible piece of bike technology. You can stand up and you can raise the seat up, you can sit down, you can drop the seat. So if you're going to be going through, you know, downhills or whatever, you can lower your center of gravity by dropping the seat. You can also extend the seat if you need a little bit more pedal power. So what I've had to do on this bike here without a drop post is just kind of set the height to something that may be okay, and I just got to kind of play around a little bit and see. But the main thing is I actually bought a replacement, because I had bought a drop post for this bike originally, and then when I bought my new Moto Bay, the drop post on that one went out, so I took the drop post off of this bike and put it on that one and used it. And so now I bought a replacement drop post for this one, but the only catch is right now I installed it and put it on, and it got stuck in the extended position, so I had to go back and order a new one from Amazon. I should be getting that one tomorrow, and I'll be able to put it back on, so hopefully I'll be able to chill out and make it happen while riding this bike. But in the meantime, like I said, I'm just happy to still be out here on the road making it happen. So let's go ahead and jump into the first topic. Let's talk about, the first thing I said I was going to talk about was Jasmine Crockett. So man, I'm telling you, there is a ton of talking and discussion about her and her political career and what just happened with her losing the election. There's just so much discourse on both sides. There's a bunch of people laughing at her, a bunch of people that are sad and upset and taking things really, really personal. Taking things really personal, you know, and I mean, it is what it is. So just a little bit of background. So she's a relatively newcomer to politics, and she kind of came out of nowhere. I think her political career is probably about 6 years old, or a little bit less, maybe 5 years or something like that. And so she ultimately, she grew up originally in St. Louis, Missouri, in a really, really nice suburb. And she went to private schools. So I think the school that she went to, when I looked it up, she went to a private school. It's actually classified as a day school. The day school is in the title. It's one of the top schools in St. Louis, Missouri. Actually in Missouri, and it's also rated as one of the top schools in the United States. And I think the tuition, when I looked recently, is about $40,000 a year. And so she's been out, and that's for high school. And so they have the lower school, the middle school, they have the upper school, which is high school. So they have different prices on that. I don't know at what point she went to school, what she didn't, but she at least kind of graduated from high school from there. Then she went off to a really prestigious liberal arts college. I think it's a private school, only admits like 2,000 students total. Forgot the name of it when I looked it up, but we're looking at roughly about, hang on a second here. Yeah, we're looking at roughly about, I think $75,000 a year is what a year of college cost for her to attend the school. So she comes from a really, really elite background, And I'm not sure what her parents did or what they were. And she ultimately ended up going to relocating down to Houston, which is in Texas, and she started her own, well, she went to law school and then she relocated to Houston and opened up her own law practice. I forget what the practice area was that she was originally involved in. And then she worked her way into politics, as most people oftentimes do when they come out of law school, if they have those kind of aspirations. It's a great way to get yourself into, representative government, because you figure you're making laws, and most of the people that are in Congress, that in the House of Representatives, the majority of them have legal backgrounds or they're attorneys. So that's just kind of a known fact. And so she eventually got herself to the point where she kind of started out small and started working her way through the political system and, start garnering support for herself. And she eventually got into the House of Representatives part of Congress, and she became very, very outspoken in her methodology and a lot of the things that she would say all the time. And a lot of the moments were clip-worthy, viral. A lot of folks said she was the next rising star for the blue team. And she got a lot of love and joy and respect from folks and a lot of positive things. And so kind of fast forward a few years, we got the current administration right now, and Texas got together with their leadership and decided they wanted to adjust the district. So I think the way it works is that if you're part of the House of Representatives, this is why having the census every 10 years is so important, because it allows the country to come up with, because when it comes to the Senate, each state only has 2 senators, no matter how large or small it is. So whatever their population is, if they have 2 people there or they have 100 million people living there, each state only has 2 senators, that's it. And so the House of Representatives is based on a number of representatives, and it's figured over, I think it's like 700,000 people is about what it represents. So if you take a large state like Texas, they're gonna have a lot of members of the House of Representatives, and each one of them represents a district. And then if you're gonna have, a smaller state, they're gonna have fewer seats in the House of Representatives. So, but the 2 branches of government work together in order to, be able to pass laws and push legislation through. So one can't operate without the other, but oftentimes it's a little bit easier if you're gonna start your political career to start out in the House of Representatives, get your feet wet. And what a lot of people will do is they'll work in the state assembly, and which has oftentimes a similar breakdown on how it operates. And a lot of times they'll have 2 legislative branches that they're gonna work with. And so a lot of people will start there, and then they'll end up working their way over to the House of Representatives. So, and then if you're been in the House of Representatives for a while, you can eventually, instead of working to represent a small district of the state that roughly is equated to about 700,000 people or so, you can represent the whole, at least half of the state, or the entire state, however you want to look at it when you move up into the Senate. So, all good. So she was representing her district and her state of Texas, and they decided that they wanted to gerrymander is what the term that they use, but they can decide on how they want to redraw each district in each area of the state. And depending on what the constitution is for the state, you know, they have rules in place on how they can go about, you know, drawing these things out. And so essentially what ended up happening was her district, she got drawn out of it. And she also, I think also Al Green, who's also representative, he got drawn out of his district also as well. So coming up at the end of, I think they're still in the House of Representatives. So like I said, she essentially got drawn out of her district, and same thing with Al Green. He got drawn out of his district also as well. And so a Senate seat is going to be opening up, and she made a decision to kind of advance to the next level. And I don't know if this gerrymandering that happened, I don't believe so, but you know, she at this point, she wanted to kind of stay in power and move forward. The most logical thing for her was to try to take advantage of this situation to kind of get into the Senate, you know, all good. And so she quickly switched gears and began campaigning and trying to raise funds, and went about the same basic tactics on, you know, how she kind of goes across, you know, interfacing with the public and, you know, through media and campaigning and all that. All good. So let's fast forward. They recently had an election in the state. Her and another Democratic individual were running for, this is just the primary, so they're just trying to narrow down who's going to be on the ballot in November. And so she lost that battle, you know, so by a margin of maybe 6 or 7 points. It's not significant, you know, but it's enough to make a difference. And other people may say it's significant. So, you know, it all depends upon how you want to look at it. So officially now she's really truly out of a job and out of a position for sure. So there's been a lot of conversation and a lot of discussion, you know, since her losing the election. You know, there's been discussions about, you know, unfairness, that there was some sabotage that was involved, racism, you know, other different things that were, you know, brought out and popped out, you know, based upon, you know, depending on who you listen to and who you watch regarding the, you know, the way that somebody decides they want to, you know, kind of frame the whole thing. All good. And so this is the thing, and this is what it probably comes down to, you know. So I realized, you know, she has her own techniques that she uses to garner support and galvanize her people. All good. And I think that, you know, this is really where it all comes down to. Like I said, I don't think that she was ready to, there wasn't something that she was originally planning on doing. She still had a lot of work to do at the representative level. And, you know, I don't think she was ever at the point where she was going to be running for the Senate. And so when you move from representing a very, very small area of a large state, I think the population in Texas is like 31 million people versus like 750,000 in a district, you know, things are a lot different, you know. And so, and this is the thing, if you personally are trying to get to the point where you're able to rise and grow and move to the next level in your career, the thing that you can't do is, when the opportunity arises, you have to already be ready, you have to already be in play. You've already got to be walking the part, talking the part, dressing the part, you know, all that stuff. And I think that a lot of the techniques that she used and she's famous for are effective for, the small district representation, but using those same kind of techniques on a larger scale, it's different. And so I remember, and you can kind of think about it this way, folks, like let's say for example, you're a kid, you're in high school, how you doing? And you are really good at basketball. So awesome. And let's say you live in a really, really small town, all good. And you're like the best player in town, all good. And so you win all the awards, you get all the trophies, but are you really that good because you're only playing basketball in a very, very small area of the country? And so if you're able to move to a larger area where you maybe go county or statewide and regional, each time you kind of go up in value. And here, let me turn around up here real quick. Give me a second. Okay, so each time you move up in competition, you have to adjust your game. And so the same game that you use to win locally does not work on, on your block, for example. It doesn't work for the city. It doesn't work for the county. It doesn't work for the state. You have to always be adjusting your game. And if you're trying to get to the level where you can play nationally, the skills that are required to play on a national level are completely different than the skills that are required to be able to play on the playground at your house, And so if you really want to try to get to the point where you can increase your game and be ready for the next level, you have to already be playing at that point. And so with her, I think there's a lot of things that she could have done better in order to increase her appeal and have a much broader likelihood of getting more votes throughout the state instead of certain ones that are just kind of concentrated in a certain area. All good. And so that's a lesson that we can all learn that is valuable to all of us. So if you're happy where you are, you don't have to really do much, but just basically maintain. But if you want to one day move to a different level, you're going to have to adjust yourself today to represent that level of success. And you hear people all the time, they say, if you want to become the CEO of a company, the thing you got to do is dress the part. So if everybody there in the company is coming in dressed like a ragamuffin, but the CEO of the company is dressed in business casual every day, he's got his Dockers on and his button down polo shirt, you got to mimic the same thing also as well. So at this point, I don't think that I would not count her out in her career. So she's going to have to go back and lick her wounds and hopefully take some accountability for what happened and, and come back and try it again. And she's got to move on, make adjustments. I think that she is more than capable of doing that. Because like I said, she comes from a very, very well-to-do background. And if you go and if you find what school she went to high school at, like I said, it was a very prestigious high school, $40,000 a year for the tuition, and it's classified as a day school. If you go and Google her school and type in notable alumni, you'll see that there's a lot of people throughout the U.S. that have done very well by coming from that pedigree of school. So like I said, and I think that another issue that she has is that I don't think that she was necessarily authentic to who she was, and this is the thing. I went back and looked at her. You can do it yourself. You can go to her YouTube page and take a look at her videos that she put out 6 years ago, and they're completely different as far as stature, demeanor, carry, all that stuff compared to, how she acts now or how she tries to get her message across. And so I'm not necessarily saying that she's cosplaying or she's not being authentic, but I think the safest place that you can be, well, you can see down here, there's a couple guys down here, and I don't know if you can see it behind me to the left there. There's some guys down there in their kayaks, hitting those rapids. It's that time of year, but like I said, she is, I don't think she's being as authentic as she can be. If she adjusts herself and falls back into her natural persona and how she was, born, and the environment that she came up in, I think she can do really, really well, And so, like I said, this is my, all I'm trying to say, I'm not trying to say anything bad or negative about her in any kind of way, This is an opportunity for all of us to learn a potential lesson here. And I think the safest thing to always be is be yourself, and be true to yourself, and be as authentic as possible. You hear that all the time, but I think there's a lot of truth to it. And so however it is that you are, be that way, and you're going to find a lot more acceptance and a lot more comfort if you're able to just be yourself. So that's it. That's all I want to say about Jasmine Crockett. Like I said, I don't count her out in any kind of way. I know that she's going to find her way in the next chapter of life so that she will be successful and carry on. So I wish her well and wish her the best as she kind of works her way through this journey. So let's talk about the next thing is I have to keep adjusting the camera here. All right, there we go. Let's talk about Unc and his rapid exit from Destination Steakhouse. And so I did a video not too long ago about Unc, and talked about him in detail, and talked about how he didn't necessarily have that spirit in him, and a lot of folks were really angry and mad and upset that they found out that he wasn't actually the owner or in partnership with the ownership at Destination Smokehouse. And I let you guys know that I knew just from his demeanor, the way he carried himself, that he didn't have the spirit of owner in the way that he projected. And when you take a look at the other guy, forget what his name is, all day, all night, you can tell that he was definitely the owner of the business. All good, no big deal. And so now some time has gone by, and Unc has separated from Destination Smokehouse. And here, let me just adjust this here real quick. So Unc has separated and moved on from Destination Smokehouse, and he now has obtained the trademark for tenderism. The attorney that I mentioned before, he reached out to Unc to try to give him the trademark. Unc didn't want it, but now Unc has possession of it. And he also did recently, he's doing a, let me circle here to let these guys go up the hill. He's doing a GoFundMe, and the GoFundMe is for $90,000. That way he can get some seed capital together and hopefully, get to the next level. And so Unc has come out and done some videos, and, he's done some high profile events. He did one for, I think it was Ron Isley, Mr. Biggs from the Isley brothers. He did his wife's birthday. So he did a video where he went to Walmart, bought meat and grilling equipment and came to the house and, you know, dropped the tendernism right there at Ron's house, and Ron was flipping and tripping, and, you know, Ron's wife was just excited and happy, and they were doing this all down in Atlanta, you know, all good. So he definitely appears to be on his way. And I'll tell you, right now, you can tell that he has been touched and he has ignited the spirit of a goon, and then the Majara spirit also in him as well. He is now unstoppable, and you can tell that he's trying to do everything he can in this potential last act to be able to make it happen and then garner the support of all the people that are definitely rooting for him, you know. And so, and he has all that stuff in him now, and so I have no doubt that he will be successful in his venture. I think the only thing is, so, and I think a lot of us, we can, and there's nothing wrong with it at all. You know, I think a lot of us ultimately sometimes fall prey and victim to complacency. And, you know, and we've all been there. I know you've been there. I know I've been there also as well. But sometimes you have to put yourself in a very difficult situation, and that way you're forced to have to fight and innovate to get yourself out of problems and issues. And sometimes you got to lose your job, and sometimes they got to put you on a PIP at work to ignite the spirit in you also as well. And so we can all learn something here from Unk and tenderism, that inside of all of us, no matter how long we've been suppressed and subdued, it just takes one thing to be able to spark that spirit for us to fight and want to, you know, do everything you can to not only survive, but thrive, you know. And so I'm definitely proud of him. He's definitely on his way. Like I said, the only thing is, this is a part of life that he's never been in before. And my only fear for him is when you take a look at somebody that has talent. I mean, we all know of a million examples of talented musicians and talented people that were in bands that toured the world and brought all kinds of money in, and they died broke, you know. And so my biggest fear is he now has people around him that have impressed upon him that he can do this on his own, but they also need to have them there to help assist with it as well. And I know, and I took a look for his GoFundMe. You can look for it. Just tenderism, GoFundMe. You'll find Walter. He actually has a business manager now that put up the post and is doing the solicitation for money and all that. You know, all good. And my only worry is that
6.0 miles,
he will
46 minutes.
get taken advantage of in an even worse way as he tries to break out of this whole thing. You know, so like I said, we all need people around us to be able to make it happen, but you have to be very careful with who you allow to be around you as you guide yourself and carry yourself through a moment of success. Because in the end, if you have not been careful, those folks can be the ones that can take you through a downfall that's even worse than what you've gone through before in the past. And like I said, the internet and is littered with famous folks that made all kinds of music, that were famous artists, that were actors and actresses, that were ultimately taken advantage of during the time when they had the talent, and folks were able to latch on to him. And I'm not even saying this is even going to even happen at all, but it's what my greatest fear as he, you know, goes through this giant awakening. So I wanted to say, if you guys get a chance to support Walter, be sure you do it. And if he comes to a place or a town near you, and he's got a pop-up or a restaurant, be sure to go by and support the brother, not just once, but over and over and over. And let's just keep him in our thoughts and our prayers, and hope that he doesn't end up getting taken advantage of and having even less than he did before, now that he's gotten what appears to be control of, you know, this incredible asset that he's, you know, created, you know, out of thin air. So that's it. That's all I'm going to say about that. And I think we've got two more topics that are left here. So this bike is tracking really fast. So, but let's jump into the next topic. I want to talk about event tickets and the ridiculousness of pricing now. My God. And so I will ride by it while I'm exiting here, but actually I won't, but I drove by it when I was coming over this way. But we have a brand, I think throughout the country, there's all these different amphitheaters. We had one out in the Bay Area. They have them in the, you know, upstate New York, and they've got them out here. They've got the Alliance, or Alliance Amphitheater. They're everywhere. And so I forget what's the name of the major company that runs them, but they have control and lock on a lot of the artists and the concerts that take place at these things, you know. So there's a couple of deers over there to the right over my shoulder that way there. I don't know if you guys can see them or not. Looks like they've been cutting some of the trees down in here, so some of their natural habitat is a little bit more exposed. But so what's happened is, you know, these guys will, and I'll tell you, out here in Richmond, we get brutal winters, so to speak. So after a certain point at the end of the year, and probably for about 4 months, they don't really have any concerts out here, maybe 5 months or so. And then they start up the new season. And so they have different packages that you can get. And these have, typically, these theaters, they have a pit up front for general admission that doesn't have any seats. They have seats that are a little bit further back, and then they always usually have like a lawn set up at the very top where you can rent, you know, you can rent a lawn chair or sit on a blanket and watch the concert for super cheap, you know, all good. And so last year, because we had so much stuff going on, I didn't even have a chance, and neither one of us did, to really go and experience any of the concerts that they had here locally. So we had a wedding to pay for, and we were busy. Then we went on our honeymoon and came back and wanted to kick back for a minute. So, you know, so I went ahead and looked this year, yesterday, to kind of get an idea on what the concerts were that are coming up this year. And so I hadn't really seen anything because I follow them on Facebook and all that. So, but they have a full calendar of concerts and stuff that are scheduled to come and hit, you know, on your left. Yeah, they have a whole schedule of concerts that are coming. So there's a number of ones that I didn't recognize, but Sting is coming. And who else they got? They got the Goo Goo Dolls. Who else they got? Chicago coming also as well. Forgot who else that we had. But those are some of the major name brands. So, I started to try to look and see if I can find tickets, and I couldn't find them directly, and I ended up going to Ticketmaster, and I was thinking, well, maybe they're going to start selling them at some point soon. I went to Ticketmaster and took a look, and damn, some of these tickets are $200, $300, $400. And even to sit up on the grass is like 60, 70, 80 bucks. Ridiculous. I'm like, man, what is going on here with these ticket prices? And I'll tell you, last year when they had Boys to Men that came, I think the tickets were like 60 bucks. They weren't that expensive at all. And Boys to Men is a major name brand act. And I was like, you know what? I would love to go see them, but we got so much stuff going on. And then to really see and even for groups that are just not super popular or well known, a number of them I just went and looked on YouTube and tried to get an idea of what their music was and stuff. And some of it I had never heard of songs at all. Whatever, all good. But even those tickets to get like down, and the thing is, if I'm going to go to a concert, I don't want to sit at the very, very top in the cheap seats. I want to act like this is the last time I'm going to ever see this artist in my life, and I want to make sure that I get some really, really good seats to be able to see them. And so I don't mind paying, $100 for a ticket or whatever to be able to sit up front or relatively close, or $150, depending upon, the artist or, that kind of a thing. But like I said, a lot of these were, the ones that they had left were like $300, $400. And if you wanted to go try to get them on resale, $700, $800, $900 for the tickets. And so I was telling Marilyn, I was like, baby, I don't know what is going on here right now. This is just crazy and ridiculous. And so let me see if I can make it up this hill here. I got my seat kind of low. Let's see. Nope, seat is too low. Okay, we're good to go. We're back in the game. So I was like, man, these tickets are ridiculous, and so this is how I think I'm gonna deal with it going forward. So we were supposed to go down to Orlando. Maryland had a conference. I was gonna tag along, and we were gonna watch Hell's Kitchen. So the Alicia Keys Broadway show. I had bought tickets like in the third row from the stage, and we were looking forward to it. Her company ended up doing a travel freeze. A lot of it's tied to what's happening internationally, so all good. And so it didn't make any sense for us just to fly down there, see the show. So I went ahead and listed the tickets for sale on StubHub, and I had them there for a few days, and I think I ended up paying with all the fees like $450 for the tickets. I think they were like $209 each, and we bought them directly from the venue, so there was really no markup on those at all. And so I ended up selling them and getting I think $135 for both tickets when it was all said and done. And like the last few hours, I kept dropping the price to try to see if somebody would take them. So somebody got a hell of a deal. And so I think what I'm gonna do from now on is, and we talked about this, so like when Sting comes to town, I'm gonna go ahead and keep an eye on the tickets. And when we get to a few hours before the show starts, I'm gonna check the pricing of the tickets, and hopefully I can find somebody that's just trying to get something for them, and then swoop on the tickets, and then we're good to go. You know, so that's kind of my, the way I'm gonna go about this, you know, going forward in the future. So, like I said, tickets right now are stupid expensive, and they used to be really reasonable out here, and actually the venue I'm talking about is right there over my right shoulder. And you can literally just come up here and sit on the sidewalk and watch the show. So we also talked about, you know, maybe even doing something like that also as well. But like I said, it's right over here on this side is where the venue is. And so I think going forward, like I said, I'm gonna take that approach when it comes to trying to get tickets for super high priced shows. And if we can't get a really, really good deal that way, we don't need to see them. So, and hopefully at some point down the road, you know, if people don't pay for the tickets and they don't buy them, a lot of this stuff is all based on demand pricing. Hopefully for future shows, you know, the price will come down. So, man, like I said, and that's why I don't mind going to go see a cover band, you know, because you can hear the same music essentially and pay like a fraction of the cost, you know, and that's just kind of how I'm going to deal with it going forward. So, all right, so that's it for that topic. And I think the last topic I was going to talk about is sometimes you just got to give it 24 hours to let things kind of play out, you know. And so, and where does this come from? I was actually talking to a longtime friend and a client the other day, and I'm not going to do anything at all to let you guys even realize what we even talked about or who they might be and all that kind of stuff. But when I was talking to them, they were like, hey, you know, feel free to use this for one of your cyclecasts if you want to. And I was like, yeah, whatever. But then I thought about it a little bit more. I said, you know what? This really is a great topic to kind of talk to people about. So, and it's a simple protocol that you can put into place. And this kind of goes back to the days of the past where people would say, you know what, this is a great idea, I like it, let me sleep on it, and I'll come back and let you know tomorrow. You know, and so sometimes you might have certain things that are going on in your life that you have wonderful desires for, you've thought about them, you would love to have an opportunity to be able to do it, and then next thing you know, something presents itself to you that ignites a spirit of excitement and giddiness and happiness, and you're at the point where you're kind of like, don't believe that something like this can actually happen, you know. And you know, one of those things is, you know, when these kind of things do come up and pop up, you know, a lot of times if somebody takes a piece of paper and slides it in front of you and says, hey, you know, this is only going to last for a little bit longer, you gotta make it happen, you know. And I don't know how many times I've talked to people in my practice where I've asked them, I said, well, why did you end up doing this? And I even talked about before when we were talking, I talked about Providient Financial, you know, resembling characteristics of supplying what is needed. A lot of times folks had an idea of what they may want or what they may need, and then we call in on the phone and we offer an opportunity to them, and it sounds like it's a miracle from outer space, and this is exactly what I've been looking for all my life, you know, and so let's go ahead and do it and make it happen. And then down the road, what ends up happening is this wonderful, beautiful thing that happened to you, the reality of the decision comes up and it hits you. And so, and there's a gazillion ways that it can fall apart on the back end, you know. And so, and this is kind of a quick example. Imagine if you were a person that you were a semi-truck driver, and all your life you've wanted to have a semi-truck, and you drive one, and then one day your boss is like, hey, I want to get out of the business and I'm willing to sell you my semi-truck. And you're like, oh my God, I can't believe it. You know, I never thought this would ever happen before. And you jump on it. And let's say, you know, not knowing that the semi-truck has got 2 million miles on it. It's got poor maintenance, it's unreliable, and it's on its last leg, and it's falling apart, you know. And if you went ahead and acted right then and there and put money down or got financing or signed on the dotted line, within a week or so, if not less than that, you may all of a sudden realize that you made a really, really bad and poor decision, you know. And so just imagine if you said, you know what, this is exactly what I've been looking for, and I can't wait to be able to go forward and make this happen, but I gotta sleep on it. I need 24 hours to think about it, to make sure this is exactly what I want. And so what you do is, by giving yourself some time, the initial excitement and the adrenaline rush will wear off. And then after that, reality always sets in, you know. And so when reality sets in, that's the moment when you can really start thinking logically, and things that, you know, were, that appeared to be fine at the time, you can realize later on that they really aren't that well. And so let's say, for example, you decide, hey, give me 48 hours, 24 hours, let me think about buying this semi-truck. And you go home. You sleep on it that night, you think about it, you get on the internet, you start looking around, you start looking at prices and stuff, you start researching what are all the different problems. Then you go there the next day, and then the same semi-truck that you've been riding in all these years, you realize the tires are bald, the maintenance is poor, the engine is knocking, you know, it's leaking oil everywhere. And at that moment, you're like, you know what? In order for me to be able to make this happen, I'm gonna have to put X amount of dollars into this to be able to get it going. And even then, there's still no guarantee that it's gonna be perfect. And so you're like, you know what? I like the idea of owning a semi, but owning this one is probably not the one for me. And so at that point, what do? You cheerfully tap out, you continue on with your position, your job, or you decide to go a different direction and look for a different semi that has the maintenance taken care of, that's definitely more reliable, that's got a better track record. And by simply taking the time to kind of think about it, then you have done yourself a service by waiting and letting reality catch up with, you know, with the adrenaline and everything else kind of wearing off. All good. And I'll tell you, when I make a decision that I want to do something, I go through an extensive period of research and looking and checking and trying to decide, you know, like even for example, when we were going on Virgin, I can't tell you how many hours of YouTube videos that I watched, you know. And even for the next cruise that we're going to be going on, you know, at some point, it's a specific kind of cruise I would like to go on. I'm already looking right now and getting information and gathering it. That way I can make the best decision when those kind of things come up. You know, so, and before I pull the trigger, I will be fully researched, and I'll leave it at that. And so there's very few times now in life where I will do an impulse, something, and if I do, it's got to be low risk, like a candy bar or something like that, you know. But most of the time, you know, I take my time to make a decision. So that's all I'm trying to say to you guys here is, if you guys are involved in any situation at all that is something that's kind of tied to what you want to do or what you want to be or where you want to be at in your life, all good, you know. And you know, a lot of things happen through divine intervention, you know, but that doesn't mean that this is the one that is divine, you know. So if you ever run into a situation where you know, let me make sure I can get through this street here. If you run into a situation where things aren't going to work out in the long run, go ahead and tap out and keep it moving. So that's it, guys. I think my time is up, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut out of here, and wish you guys a wonderful evening, and I'll be back another day. Take care, guys. Peace. In my life. Oh, shit. Okay, my brother fell. This is black ice. Okay. All right, I'm okay. All systems check. All right, I'm good. So let me just penguin it.